Hey folks, we're back in the kitchen here at Mark Kelly Farm. We've been out working in the garden. We've gathered up some of our winter squash. We'll show you what we're going to do to them. So we got a bunch of our butternut squash, and some of these have the stems missing. A lot of them do. And when that happens, they're not going to keep well in the root cellar. They're going to start rotting on you. So you're going to have to do something with them. Plus a couple of them, maybe one or two, have a little soft spot right on top where the sun was hitting them. But we can carve that off. But that's not going to last in the root cellar either. So what we're going to do is we're going to can this squash. So if it's going to go bad in the root cellar, we need to get it in the can so it'll be good for all winter. We can use it as needed. Now this squash, this butternut squash, can be used sweet or savory. You can make pies with it just like you do pumpkin. You can put salt and pepper and olive oil on it and serve it savory. It's really good. You can do anything you want. You can put butter, brown sugar on it. But this is already going to be cooked. If you've ever cooked butternut squash, you know how long it takes to cook it, because it's a very dense squash. I like to cook it in an Instapot, pressure cooker, whatever you want to call it. It goes much faster. But this is going to cook for 90 minutes in a pressure canner, so you can imagine it's already going to be soft. You're not going to have to cook it. You're pretty much just going to have to warm it up and do whatever you want to do with it. You can mash it up. You can use it for pie filling, whatever you want to do. So I'm going to get to this sink of butternut squash here. I need to get the seeds out of them, and I need to peel them, and I'm going to cube them all into 1-inch cubes, and I still got some canning jars to wash. So I got my work cut out for me. Now when I'm dealing with these butternut squash, you can see there's the bulb end down here, and then there's the straight side. I deal with them separately. I'll go ahead and cut across here. All your seeds are down here in the bulb, and this is all flesh. You can see there. So then I take the top, I just whack the top off of it, and then you just peel it like you would a pineapple. You just run your knife down the sides, and then this is complete. And then I'll scoop the seeds out of here. I'll cut the end off, and I'll basically peel this one the same way. This one's the one that had that little soft spot over here. So we're just going to trim that part off as well. And then we'll start cubing it up and put it in our big bowl here. Got the bottom portion peeled. We've got the seeds scooped out of there. I just use a big tablespoon. And scrape it really good. Get all that fibrous stuff out of there. Sometimes there's not much left to the wall of it, but that's fine. It'll still be good. Now as soon as you get a jar's worth cut up, go ahead and fill your clean jar, and then you're going to put in a teaspoonful of salt right into the top of the jar. And then we're going to use our tap water because we got really good well water here. If not, use a bottled water or something like that, or let your water sit out overnight and the chlorine will evaporate off. But we're going to leave 1-inch head space. We're going to go ahead and put a new lid and a ring on that. And then that way that squash is not going to oxidize sitting out here in the air, start turning brown. And I can just leave this set on the counter until we put it inside the canner. So you see we're packing this raw, and we did it in cube form. They do not recommend that you can pumpkin or squash or anything like that in a solid cooked form like mashed or something like that. There's chances that the heat won't get all the way to the center of the material in the jar because it's so insulated. But by canning it cubed like this, the water in and around all those pieces is going to boil and sterilize that whole jar as it cooks. And remember, when you're pressure canning for such a long period, you don't have to go so crazy on your sterilization of your jars and your lids and all that. Just make sure that they're clean, good stuff, and they're of course they're not dirty. So we'll get the rest of these done. Got our jars filled, and this pressure canner takes 5 jars. Almost looks like we're jarring cantaloupe or something, huh? Beautiful color. So we're going to put our 5 jars inside of our canner. Had one oddball lid there, huh? That won't matter. So you can't put one in the middle on this one, there's no room. So now what we're going to do is we're going to put our lid on to make sure our gasket is all down the way it should be, and it is. And we'll put our lid on. We want to put this on vent, and then we're on pressure can already. Press the button, and then we need to add our 90 minutes that we're going to do. Press the button again. It says insert jars. We did. Now it's going to go into warming phase. Now normally you'd put empty jars in here and it'll warm your jars for you, but we're going to warm everything together. So we'll wait for the warming cycle to be over, and then it'll say fill jars. We'll be right back. All right, the warming cycle was over, so it said fill jars and put everything in the canner. Then we put the lid on. We've already, remember, we're steps ahead here. So we closed the arm and we locked the lid, made sure this was in vent mode here, press the button. Now it's in heat mode, and once it builds to a certain pressure, it'll go into vent mode all by itself. And then it'll beep, and then we come close the vent, and then once it's fully at the pressure, it'll start counting down. Now you probably realize we're skipping steps here, but because we cold packed and did that is the reason why we skipped steps. You've got to understand that this thing isn't going to start canning until everything in that pot is up to temperature. A lot of your pumpkin or squash recipes are going to tell you to cook your squash before you put it in the jar. Basically what we're doing right now is we're cooking a lot longer than they recommend, because they only recommend you bring it to a boil for 2 minutes. This in the canner is already cooking. So once it comes up to temperature, it's going to go 90 more minutes, and it will not do that until everything in there is up to the right temp. So there's nothing for you to worry about. Now it's in the vent mode. It does that for 10 minutes. So it's counting down from 8 minutes now. It's already 2 minutes into it. Meanwhile, over here we've got our other canner out, our second canner. We filled the water up to the line for pressure canning. It's right about 3 quarts. And then we're going to load all these babies in. Got 5 more jars ready. So we're going to do 10 jars tonight. That's these 2 that are going right now. And then we probably got 5 more jars worth of butternut squash to do tomorrow. Make sure our gasket is in here good, and it is. Close our lid. We leave this open for now. Make sure this is on vent in that position. Pressure can. 90 minutes, and we're heating. Cool deal. Here's the rest of our squash for tomorrow. We'll deal with these tomorrow. I'm just going to put my jars in the dishwasher. So let the dishwasher do the work. But we're going to get this other canner well into the process over here. Right now it's just in the warming mode. Now the big old manual pressure canner that I have 2 of them. I've since given 1 away. I'm going to give it to my brother. Those would actually do 7 quarts at a time, and these will do 5. But I'll give away those 2 quarts in the process just for the automatic aspect of this, because like I said before, when you got the old pressure canner on the stove, it's a pain. You got to keep going, checking, making sure you're working at the right pressure and the right temp and all that stuff. So normally we get done 14 jars in this process. Now we can do 10, but we can just walk away. Now the quick start guide that comes with this is just 1 sheet. It's got pressure can on one side, water bath can on the other, and it's got the steps all laid out. One of the steps on the pressure can is to remove this regulator completely. And if you read into the regular book, the book that comes with the canner, they tell you that they have you do that so in case you forget to vent that. But I've been canning for a lot of years and I know the steps, so I just leave that on. I don't want to take it on and off and wear that thing out, but I always make sure I'm in vent mode when I need to be, so it's not a problem. And the skipping steps, you know, I've been canning for a long time, and that's another reason I know that's okay, because you can tell when this thing's running, the steps take longer because of the cold jars being in there. We're not shocking the jars because it warms up the jars gradually in the warming phase, so we're not going to break jars or anything like that. You heard this one just beep. It's all vented, so now we switch that to can right there. And when it builds pressure, this little button here is going to pop up and the countdown will start, but it will not start until the pressure and the temp is okay. The other safety feature that's on here, unlike some of the old ones, when this pops up, it doesn't allow you to open this. So you can't even possibly make a mistake and try to open this thing and hurt yourself and get boiling water, scalding water going all over your kitchen. It won't let you. Now, some of the newer manual canners, when it comes under pressure, the lid will actually come up and go into some locking lugs. While it's under pressure, it won't allow you to open the lid. Now, my two old ones, if you wrenched on those hard enough, that lid would open because there's nothing to lock it. You just got to be smart enough not to do that. And most of the pressure canning accidents that you hear of are people doing silly things that they shouldn't be doing. You can see the check valve popped up. We're all closed up now. Now I can walk away from this canner now. I don't have to sit here. I can leave, go to town, do whatever. In fact, once the other canner gets into this mode, we're going to dinner tonight. I'm taking my wife to end of harvest celebratory dinner, taking her to a place that I've been wanting to take her for a while. But we're just going to leave and these things will finish the job. And when we come back is when we return from dinner. Both of these will probably be cooled all the way down where I can open the lid, and I'll show you the end result. Well, we are home from dinner, and both canners have shut down. You can see the contents are still simmering just a little bit. Both canners. So let's pull a jar out. There we go, 10 jars of butternut squash. That'll be a quick and easy meal anytime we want it. Can also make pies, like I said, they're pretty much interchangeable with sweet potatoes, pumpkin, butternut squash. You can use all those for just about anything. In fact, most people don't know a lot of the pumpkin pies you get at the store are actually made out of sweet potatoes and not pumpkin. But it's going to be good stuff. I'm going to love having this in the pantry over the winter for quick and easy meals. So, till then, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. We're going to do 5 more jars tomorrow, and that'll give us 15 jars in the pantry. So, come back and see us next time.